Hey guys, welcome back to another Camera Foundry product video, and this is CineBack for the Sony FX3 and FX30. It transforms your camera into a compact cinema body with just a few screws, and it adds a mini battery plate with 4 D-tap connectors to power all kinds of different accessories with a single power switch to turn everything on and off. And it has a custom screen module here on the side so that you can still use your display in any orientation, and there's little protectors on the side to keep it from getting damaged. There are also giant top and bottom plates so that you can mount pretty much any accessory on these things and have a lot of options when it comes to rigging, while also giving you an incredibly strong platform to build the perfect rig. All of this, and you can still access all of the primary controls on the camera without any issue. Let's go ahead and take a look at what comes in the box and how to get this thing set up with your camera. Then we'll talk about some additional features. In the box, you're going to find a bag that has the CineBack as well as all of the accessories listed on a label that also has a QR code so that you can go ahead and get instructions and watch this helpful video. In the bag, you're going to find another bag with hardware and an Allen key. This includes 3 1/4-20 screws and a 1/4-20 to 3/8 adapter. Obviously, you'll also find the CineBack fully assembled and ready to be installed on your camera. And last but not least, a Camera Foundry sticker. Assembling the CineBack for the FX3 is very, very simple. There are only 2 things you need to pick up in addition to CineBack. First is going to be the small rig 4183 cage for the FX3 and FX30, as well as a FZ102 D-tap connector or cable like you see here. You can really use any one that you like. Here I have a Condor Blue, but I'll include a couple links down in the description of this video. So step 1 is going to be installing the small rig cage on your camera. Next, we can flip the camera and cage upside down, and we're going to take our 1/4-20 to 3/8 adapter and install it in this 3/8 thread on the cage. Now we can use the built-in magnetic little screwdriver here to go ahead and do that. So I'll do that real quick. Now it's nice and flush with the bottom of the cage. I'll return the screwdriver back onto the cage. Now we can install the camera in CineBack. So first we're going to flip the screen out like so on the camera, and we're going to install it in between the top and bottom cheese plates of CineBack. Keep in mind there is a spring-loaded little NATO lock here on the cage that might get stuck in one of these holes, but you can simply use the Allen key to push it down if it does so. So I'm going to go ahead and install it, push down that little lock, line up the 2 holes here on the top of the camera cage with the top of CineBack. That little pin got stuck in this 3/8 thread, so I'm going to press it down with the Allen key, and now we're nicely aligned right here at the top. I will take 2 of our 3 1/4-20 bolts and install them here and here on the cage, but not all the way tight, just enough to keep it in place while we flip the whole rig over and finalize our alignment with our 3rd and final screw. So we'll flip things over. Now we're going to line up the camera cage with that slot so you can see our little adapter right there, the silver 1/4-20 to 3/8 thread. We will take our final 1/4-20 screw and go ahead and install that. Once everything looks nicely lined up, you can go ahead and tighten down those 3 screws. With that done, we can finally close the display on the side into our custom display area. There's also a foam pad right here to keep things from getting scratched up, and you can check the overall alignment of the camera, and of course make adjustments to the bottom screw and the 2 top screws to get things perfectly centered and aligned. Next, we can install our dummy battery to get this whole thing powered up and connected to CineBack. So what we're going to do is flip the cage over here. We'll swing open this small rig lever here to gain access to our battery door. Go ahead and open that. And if we take a close look, there's a tiny little lever spring to remove the battery door. So I'm going to go ahead and push that over and just simply remove the door. So now we have a nice area for our dummy battery. I'll go ahead and take my dummy battery and I will install it in the camera, close the small rig lever. I'll take the cable and stick it in this little handy slot here on the cage and flip the whole thing over so we can go ahead and tuck our cable in to CineBack just like that. I'm going to stick it down in the base here, and I'll go ahead and plug in our adapter into the D-tap power strip. You'll notice that we can easily tuck our cable in the bottom here. There's also what we call the vanity plate here on CineBack, which is a compartment where you can stuff all kinds of different cables. So you can kind of see our cable down underneath the vanity plate. If you ever need to, you can remove these two screws, get in there and stuff even more cables if necessary. But you can also run cables in the bottom and the top, as you can see right here with this slot, to run cables to the other side of the camera here and here. And just like that, our CineBack build is complete. At this point, we can go ahead and add a battery to the back of the entire rig, flip things around, turn on the power switch, which activates all of those D-tap connectors, and turn on the camera, and we're good to go. If you want to remove the camera and use it without CineBack, it's very simple. Simply flip out the screen, remove the battery, disconnect the dummy battery from the camera, and remove those 3 screws, 1 on the bottom, 2 on the top, and slide the camera out just like that. And now you're ready to run without CineBack. And if you want to reinstall it, it's as simple as reversing those steps. Now let's go over the CineBack rig and talk about all of the different features. So I want to start with the top and the bottom plates. These are, first of all, giant. Here's my hand, and they are loaded with 1/4-20 and 3/8 threads. So on the bottom, you can pretty much put any quick release plate or 50mm rod base plate on here that you could possibly imagine. There's just so much room. Same with the top. There's almost no combination of top handle, monitor mounts, and other gear that you could rig this guy up with. Also keep in mind, there are threads on the sides, so you have even more flexibility there, and on the front. So you could easily mount a 15mm rail block right here or down here. You just have a lot of options. You could even mount the camera upside down. Rigging this and working with it is super easy because everything is nice and mounted flush. It's really, really rock solid. It feels like it was designed this way. It's like a cinema camera. It's fantastic. You also can easily grab the camera and use the handle. There's also a place for your thumb to rest on the protector for the screen, and you can access all of the buttons, so nothing is hidden. You still have full access to the menu button here for your thumb. The entire grip is open, and there is an area to reach in and use the mode button as well as the switch for power on the camera. Now let's talk about the side screen area. So we can flip it around in any orientation. We can close it completely if you don't need it and you're just going to use a monitor. Or what I like to do is flip it out and kind of have it like a side or AC little display, which is really handy. There is a foam pad built in to protect the screen if it's closed in this orientation. And there's also protruding protectors on the top and bottom. So from the side, you can see it's really hard to impact the screen because of those bump outs on the top and bottom. But it also keeps it from getting hit on the bottom or the top, and it gives you something to kind of hold on to while you're operating the camera. Then we have the power switch right here, and this is going to power on anything that is plugged into the D-tap connector. So all it does is connect the V-mount plate to these connectors here. This means that there's going to be 0 battery draw when this is turned off. So when you have this in the off position, there is no circuitry drawing power from your battery. So you could stick this whole thing in your bag, pick it back up a week later, and you're not going to have a bunch of loss on your battery. Before we move on to the battery plate, I want to talk about cable slots. So you'll notice here, we can kind of see our Condor Blue D-tap cable right through the bottom. So there's actually a way to run cables through the bottom underneath the screen. So you could take your HDMI or audio cables and go a right angle out, thread it through there, come out the other side if you needed to. And there's also tons of room on the top here. So you can see we have access to our power switch, but there's still plenty of room to run cables underneath this top plate. And there's a slot to go into our vanity plate, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So that is the screen side of the camera, or the operator side. Let's now talk about the rear and then the dummy side. So here on the back, we have our V-mount plate. Depending on when you're watching this, there might be other plate options available. But what's nice about this one is it's really compact. So it's smaller than your standard plate. So you can use compact batteries like this one from Small Rig, or full-size batteries if you like to run that kind of setup. And that brings me to the D-tap or dummy side of the camera. So we have our 4 D-tap connectors. I'm using one to power the camera right now. We have a max amperage or current of 10 amps. All this is doing is connecting our battery to these jacks. So whatever is connected via the battery is the voltage you're going to get. So you'll need to use different cables to adapt that voltage down to something else. So this particular cable is going to drop the voltage from 16 volts on my battery down to what the camera needs. But you can also pick up adapters for USB-C and 5 volts or all kinds of different stuff. There are tons of adapters on the market to go down to 12 volts, or like this adapter for the camera down to the voltage for the FX3. As you can see from this rig, you can pretty much do anything you want when it comes to power. D-tap is one of the most versatile and well-accepted standards in our industry. So you're gonna be able to find any possible adapter or cable needed. Also on the dummy side of the camera, you can see the vanity plate here. So there are 2 screws that are removable, and you can remove this entire cover. And if I flip things over onto the top, you can simply see that it kind of curves around and covers up whatever cables you have. So you can stick cables through the operator side, through the bottom like you see here, and they're just gonna kind of stick into that case. You can kind of see that Condor blue cable down inside there. So it's gonna keep all of your cables nice and tidy inside of the rig. They're not spilling out all over the place. And of course, it's removable if you need to gain access to that area. Here's another view of the grip, so you can see we can still easily access everything we need to without messing with our cables, but also without interfering with our grip. Lastly, let's talk about the front. So I'm going to remove this lens and expose my sensor just so you can see how much room there is here on the front. You have tons of 1/4-20 taps on the bottom and on the top facing forward on this aluminum plate, so you can rig up all kinds of different stuff on this. So I'll go ahead and grab some rail blocks real quick. Here's a simple rail block. We can mount this so many different ways. I could mount it just like that, have it really close to the lens mount, or I could flip it up like this or mount it on top of the plate. There's so many options. Same on the bottom. There's infinite room down here for mounting all kinds of different base plates, shoulder pads. You can really do anything. CineBack also won't interfere with larger lens mounts. So I'm going to remove this cap here and install this rather chunky E to PL adapter. So as you can see, no issues there. Now we're rocking a PL setup, and here is a Nisi PL lens installed. So no issues running a setup like that at all. So that is CineBack for the FX3 and FX30. It is a fantastic way to convert this already amazing camera into a compact, boxy cinema camera that you can rig up in any possible configuration, is easily removable and expandable with tons of power options. So check this information in the description for more information on this product. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in our next video.